Hey there, you're watching CITAM, Church Online, and what a delight it is to be able to connect with you. Today we're talking about age, and I'm sure you've heard all manner of statements about age. One of those popular phrases is, age is nothing but a number. What do you think about that? Is age something that we should take into consideration about different things? Well, today we want to start off on talking about myth busters. We want to bust the myth of age limitations insofar as usefulness to God is concerned. Many of the times that we can say that I'm too young or maybe I'm too old. And in the scriptures, we see people on either side of the divide. They could easily have limited themselves and they could have limited that which God had intended to do through them on account of age. And that's why we need to debunk the myth. That's why we need to pop that bubble. That's why we need to bust the myth that age is something that should constrain you. Think about what Paul writes to Timothy. He tells him in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, one of my favorite verses in the scriptures. And this is, it has a special appeal to me because of joining the ministry at a young and tender age. This is what Paul says to Timothy, who was a young minister. He says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. I'm thinking about you who's a Gen Z, and you know all manner of Gen Z jokes doing the rounds, talking about work ethic, talking about how, Gen Z attention span and Gen Z work ethic, and describing it in all manner of ways. And perhaps you might subscribe into that. You might buy that narrative and you may begin to limit that which God can do through you on account of age. Perhaps you've even fallen into the trap of looking down on yourself. Remember what Paul is saying. He's saying, Timothy, don't let others look down on you. Be exemplary. Be exemplary in your faith, in your speech, in your conduct, and in various other areas like purity. And so instead of looking down on ourselves or letting others look down on us, Paul's words to this young minister, and by extension to you who's young, is don't write to yourself because you're young. Be an example. And I think about God's words to Jeremiah. Jeremiah in his call, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. The Lord said to Jeremiah, do not say, I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and I will rescue you. Well, you may say, that just sounds like the biblical characters. But when you look at contemporary examples, you can see many, many young people who have bust that myth. Many young guys who have debunked the notion that you're too young to make an impact, or you're too young to be used significantly. I think of people not just in the religious circles. I think of guys in entrepreneurship, guys in the business world, people who are engaged in athletics, and guys who are in art and so forth. All these different sectors, we can list contemporary examples, men and women who debunked the myth that you're too young to fill in the blank. And so I want you to think about some of the limits, especially age limits that you put on yourself, and you say, I'm too young to do this. I'm too young to start a business. I'm too young to start a business that will have impact. I'm too young to engage in leadership. I'm too young to make a mark in my social sphere, in my circle of influence. Think about contemporary examples like Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who started Facebook. Think of historical examples like Mozart. You must have heard about him, this maestro of music. He started playing the piano at the young age of 5. I think about a local example of one of our tennis stars. She started off at the age of 4. This is Angela Okutoi. She started off at the age of 4, and she could very easily, at least her parents could have said, she's too young to start. Where are you buying into the notion that you're too young? I'm here to tell you, you can bust that myth, you can pop that bubble, and you can be all that God intended for you to be. Hear the words of the Lord to Jeremiah. Do not say that you are too young. Hear the words of God to Joshua. Be strong and very courageous. Go and take on all the assignments that God has in store for you and bust the age myth. God bless you.